talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's my guy, Connor, the controller, Matthews. How we doing today, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, dude. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I know you got a big one coming up March 30th at the end of the month. You're going in there for your UFC debut at UFC Atlantic City. So I appreciate you, coming on here, taking a little bit of time and chopping it up with me, man.
No pleasure. My pleasure. I always want to get with the local boys, the New England boys, anytime, man.
Sir, I appreciate you, man. And before we get into that fight, I want to start at the top, man, get to know you from your background a little bit. So let's start right there. Where were you born and raised, and what was growing up kind of like for you?
So I grew up in Freetown, Massachusetts, South Coast, Mass, about 45 minutes south of Boston. Growing up, I was just a kind of kid that played every sport you could pick. Hockey was actually my number one sport, but I started training martial arts at the age of like 5 or 6, actually. And I was at American Kempo. I used to do the point sparring. Was like my passion when I was a kid. So I liked like weapons. I liked all like that traditional martial arts stuff. And then as I got older, I got more into hockey because I wanted to try to play college hockey and go that avenue. That didn't end up working out for me. Ended up coming back into fighting, and that's basically my childhood. But I was into every sport you could pick on, like extreme sports, surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding. You name it, I probably played it.
There you go, man. That's awesome. And then I know you mentioned, getting into martial arts when you're a kid, but what kind of made that turn into your introduction into MMA and the cage fighting aspects of that? And do you recall, like your introduction there? What got you into the gym, and kind of what got you on the start of this journey?
Yeah, so like for the traditional thing, my sensei at the time, my karate sensei, he like moved out of town, so I was like hopping around between a couple different schools, and then I ended up at Lakeville MMA my sophomore year in high school. And Lakeville was actually kind of like a taekwondo school that started doing jiu-jitsu, like very just got into doing jiu-jitsu. So actually they had a couple fighters fighting out of there, back old school guys like Tony Lee and Roger Brackett. You guys, I don't know if you know those guys, but they're like first generation MMA fighters in New England. And so I kind of got into it from them. They would come into the gym and start training and rolling with those guys. And this is like probably like 2007, 2006. I was like, didn't even have my license yet. I was like 14 or 15. And I remember like doing MMA sparring with those guys. Basically then I was still playing hockey, but my senior year I got hurt from playing hockey. So just like anytime I ever struggled with anything, I kind of go back to martial arts and use it as like a coping mechanism for me to just deal with my issues of being angry, teenager. And and then so I got into so my sensei was like, hey, we're gonna sign you up for an MMA fight. And I was like, all right, I didn't really even at this point, to be honest, I knew I didn't really watch MMA at all. I just kind of I was more just into martial arts because that for fun. But like this is like GSP era UFC 100. I remember watching that with my friends in my house. We just kind of getting into UFC at that point. And so I turned 18 in May. I had my first fight in June, so like 2 weeks after I turned 18, and it was the Cage Titans 3 was the card. Guys were on the card, like Rob Font was on the card, Peter Barrett was on the card, Nick Newell's on the card. This is like old school,
right. All the OGs.
All the OGs. So it was pretty cool. I got a win. I got a win in the first round. I got taken down by a wrestler. I had zero wrestling at all. All I did was karate and a little bit of jiu-jitsu. And I got taken down, got him back up, caught him when we went back up to our feet, and I got a first round finish. It was pretty awesome.
Definitely probably, was the introduction to, that itch that you get when you get into the cage and getting a win, especially in your first one ever. I'm sure that kind of adrenaline, especially being like an extreme sports guy, probably set the tone for like everything that you wanted from the future,
100%. It was like, it's a drug for sure. Fighting is a drug. It's like, there's no feeling like your first winning your first fight. I remember I was just like running around, just so pumped. Like, it was just like, especially being at that age, like, It
Right.
was insane. Yeah, man. I've been chasing that feeling ever since.
Of course, man. It's a
So,
hell of a drug, so they say, man. I know you, let's get
yeah.
into your nickname a little bit. I know you go by the controller. That is an ode to, your job in the military as a
Yep.
combat controller. So talk to me a little bit about the experience you had in the military, what your job was as the combat controller, and then ultimately how did you decide on that as your nickname going forward in MMA?
So yeah, I'll tell you about my original nickname was Bad News. It was Bad News Matthews. That was the original fight name. And then I got that one from the job site when I was a kid. Like I started working on job sites, so I'd fuck stuff up,
Right.
or mess stuff up, and
Hmm.
they would call me Bad News, whatever. So my guy Rick Smith gave me that nickname, my boss.
Hmm.
After that, so I joined the military, became a combat controller. A combat controller, we're special operations. So our job is to basically call in airstrikes. We go to schools like Halo schools, jumping out of planes, dive schools. We attach sometimes to other special forces teams or Navy SEALs or whatever it is, and or we do unilateral our own mission sets, was where we go out and we control airfields like air traffic control, so we're ATC certified, and we basically anything from air to ground. We
Right.
call airstrikes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did that for 6 years. The pipeline for that is pretty hard. It was like a 95% attrition rate. So we started with like over like 100 people or whatever it was. You end up with like 5 to 10 of us actually make it through.
Right.
And it was a really cool job for sure. I loved it. I did a deployment to Afghanistan. And then when I came back from Afghanistan, I was kind of struggling with lost a couple of friends. Not while I was with there, but around that period of time.
Right.
So I was kind of lost again, and that's kind of what got me back into training martial arts. But I use the nickname the controller because I'm just honoring that career field that I came from. They have kind of helped develop me as a person for sure.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be anywhere, it kind of trained my mentality mostly, I think.
Right.
And it's a really tight knit community, so that's why I use that, and it's just a cool nickname, I think.
For sure, man. It's definitely unique. You don't see that one out there very often.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously the story that's attached to it means a lot also. So for me and everybody else, thank you for your service, of course.
Oh, my
And
pleasure.
and like I said, definitely a very cool story behind the name to it, man. It means a lot, obviously.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I like that. There's has a lot of meaning to it instead of just being like kind of like making some shit up. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going in there March 30th at UFC Atlantic City for your debut. There's going to be a ton of people that are tuning in that might have not have had the pleasure to see you fight before. So for those that haven't seen you fight, how would you describe your fight style to them?
I would say I'm the jack of all trades. I kind of do it all. I can kickbox from my traditional karate style. Muay Thai, I've been doing that for a long time. I've had portions where I did a lot of jiu-jitsu. I've kind of focused on every discipline for a long time, for a good amount of time, my whole life since I was 5 years old. I've been training martial arts for over 25 years. You know what I mean? So that's a long
Right.
time training. So I'm just a jack of all trades. I do it all. So that's what they're gonna see. I think one of the unique things is my gas tank and my ability to bring people into deep waters. And I've been told that I hit pretty hard. Not trying to, but I feel like that came from like a lot of my hockey career. Like you have strong legs from hockey, and I feel like that kind of transitions to fighting by getting power off the ground through your hands. So yeah, I was just say I'm the jack of all trades.
There you go, man. Let's get into your fight history a little bit. We'll start at the Contender Series in 2022, where you go in there versus Francis Marshall, who was 5-0 at the time. First off, off the rip, man, how did it feel to get that call, get that experience, and what was it kind of like for you in that time? Going to the Apex, going through all the things that a UFC fighter would go through to get your first crack at, hopefully getting a contract. Just what was that experience like for you in general?
Yeah, that was a pretty tough fight for me. It was my first time fighting at that level, fighting on the big stage. Going there, I don't think I was prepared as I should have been going into that fight. To be honest, I was lacking a couple things in my game for sure.
Mhm.
My wrestling, because I played hockey growing up. I wasn't really a wrestler, so that's something I had to kind of come back and fix after that fight. But
Mhm.
it was a good experience. Like anytime, no matter if it's anytime you run into something that's really hard and challenging, you're going to come out the other side, even if you didn't win or I failed at, right, or didn't accomplish the goal I wanted to. I came out on the other side a better, stronger person, and I'm just appreciative I was able to do that. It was cool. First time fighting in front of Dana White, first time fighting in the Apex. Fight week was different. First time traveling and actually fighting. So a lot of times I'd just where I live. So that was the first time I did that. I saw how that affected me. Just things that I didn't really take into account that you just don't know until you don't know. You know what I mean? Like until you try it. So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, I didn't get that win, but it is what it is. I learned a lot from it, and I made all the necessary changes.
For sure. And it is probably extremely important that you kind of got all those first kind of checked off the list, and everything after that probably made it a little bit easier because you had something to compare it to, and the experience to fall back on. Obviously you unfortunately didn't get the win that night, but Dana did praise you post fight, for your toughness. What was it like kind of hearing his reaction to your fight? Because he didn't have to say anything about the guys that lost, but he chose to say something about you that night. How did that feel, hearing his words?
Oh, I thought it was really cool. He came actually so as I was in the back room with the doctor, he came in the back and said, "Hey, you're a tough bastard," or whatever. He said something like that to me, and I thought that was really cool because he doesn't always do that. You know what I mean? So and that was the fight actually that Dana White came in before the fights. He's never done this before either. Before the fights, he brought in all the fighters because we were on week 2.
I remember this.
Week 1 was like a boring, like nobody was going out there trying to go finishes. So he brought all the fighters in a room. He's like, "Hey, just to remind you guys are here fighting for a UFC contract." He's like, "I want to see people that are going out there and trying to finish each other. I want to." So it kind of gave us this like amped up like energy. So every guy went out there and they delivered. I think like honestly in that fight, like you see sometimes that people get contracts even if they don't win. Like my teammate Angel Pacheco. He's fighting actually my debut in the same night as me. He got a contract. He didn't even win as a Contender Series, but he did such a good performance and put on such a war. They still gave him a contract. I feel like my fight was kind of like that for the Contender Series for the first one, but I think there's just so many good performances that night and knockouts that he didn't give me a contract. So hey, like I said, like everything happens for a reason, and you know what I mean. I'm happy that everything folded the way it did. I think I'm a better person, better fighter because of the way everything went.
For sure, man. The one right after that was Combat Zone 79.
Yep.
Dana was in attendance again with the Looking for the Fight crew.
Yep.
Now your second time in a row fighting in front of Dana. People barely get the opportunity once, never mind twice in a row. You ended up defeating Andrew Cruz in that fight via rear naked choke in the first round. After that performance, coupled with your Contender Series fight, the words that he said to you, and then fighting in front of him again for Looking for a Fight and getting a win the way you did you feel like that night was your night to get the contract? Were you expecting it that night?
I felt good that night. I felt really, really good. I felt like everything was kind of like, everything worked out. Like I'm lucky, first of all, the fact that, Dana White's looking for a fight. Like, it's the first time it came to Boston. Right. So it hasn't been there forever. So, and I got lucky that I was going to be the main event on that card. I fought Andrew Cruz. I felt St. Patrick's Day weekend. Like I said, March is like, I'm dangerous in March. So it's just always that's my time of the year. You know what I mean? I don't drink too much anymore. So I just stick to the fighting. So, that's where I get my spirit in is around St. Patrick's Day. And that was an awesome weekend. Fighting at Encore Casino at Combat Zone. Calvin put on a great show. That was a stacked card from top to bottom. It was like, and all my teammates going into that fight, we all like trained together. Because we all had fights. Like it was like me, Brendan Marat, Hugo Marquez, Tom Pags. I think Chris Martino fought on that. I don't know, but all of us were sparring and training together like every week. So like when that fight came up, it was awesome. We were all like synced up on the ready to go. And we all came home. It was on one of those like local shows, like all the home guys wins because it's stacked in our favor. No, they were pretty like good fights. It wasn't like we just happened to have like good performances on that night. I mean, they were fair, good matchups, and we all got good wins. And then obviously Dana brought me in the back, and that was a really big moment for me. I thought it was really cool because now I got like kind of a little storyline coming from the Contender Series, the first one. Now you can watch it on Dana White's looking for a fight on the YouTube, and that follows right into Contender Series the next time when he gave me the opportunity to come back. Yeah, I was kind of Well, I was hoping to get a contract, like an actual contract. I was like, all right, this is my second time. I fought good on the first one. Now I showed them I could finish people, and then they invited me for the third time. I was like, oh shit. And then they give me a 10-0 Brazilian. I was like, oh damn it.
Right. Going into that one, man, ultimately you get that second crack at the Contender Series. Of course, you were looking for the contract after looking for a fight, but you ultimately get a second crack at the Contender Series. Like you said, versus the 10-0 prospect in Yair Farias, who is an absolute dog. Now, this being your third time in a row fighting in front of Dana, right? You got the Contender Series first time, looking for a fight, and now Contender Series again 3 times in a row for you. It's crazy to think about that. Did you feel an added sense of comfort going into this Contender Series fight, having already done it previously? So everything you've already experienced, you already know what's coming up for you before you even get to the cage. Did that kind of give you that added sense of confidence going into that fight that night?
Yeah, there's a couple things that gave me that sense of confidence. Absolutely. I think the visualization thing is a huge part of it. I could visualize what the walkout was going to look like, what it was going to feel like to be in that building. I remember the first time I went there, I was just like, I didn't even know where I was in that building. I didn't get, usually get to the fights on fight night. You can get there early. You can go kind of fill out the cage and stuff. There's none of that in the Contender Series. You go to the Apex, you go to the dressing room, which I had my own private dressing room. And I didn't see it as I'm basically just watching a TV, and then you're out on front of which is just crazy, right? It's just kind of just something I've never really experienced. I'm used to that energy and warming up for fights and having other people around, and what I mean? It's just different vibes. Wasn't used to that. So the second time, I was just kind of really mentally prepared. But also, I had the England Cartel out there all week. I had Rob Font, I had Calvin Cater, I had Tyson Chartier, I had Joe Poirier from my gym. I had Pete Luciani. My corner was super solid. We got an Airbnb that week. We got for the first time. I traveled out there on a Saturday and I fought on a Tuesday, so I didn't really have too much time to acclimate to the weather and time change and everything. I was like, I can't do that again. So the next time I flew out there on a Monday. I had actually I think it might have been even earlier. I was there for a full week before I even got there. I got to fight, so I really got used to the time change. I was sleeping great, and I just felt like everything was in that time was just everything was better. I saw my opponent a couple times at the PI. I was using the PI because I was with Calvin and Rob, so I could use that, and I just felt like, I had the hot tub, the ice baths. I saw my opponent, so it wasn't like I kind of sometimes you kind of feel energy from people when you see them a little bit. It sounds a little like whatever.
Right.
But I really feel like that. I feel like sometimes when I see somebody and I can sense their nervous energy, it just builds me to feel more confident. And that's what I felt like when I saw my opponent. We were in a sauna together on fight week where I was in there. And then he came in the sauna with his team. So he had his coach. I forgot his name. The guy that has tattoos across his neck, big giant guy from his gym. There was 3 of them, and it's just me, Pete Luciani, and I think it was Joe Poirier. We're sitting in the sauna together with my opponent that I'm about to fight in a couple of days. Right. And it was just kind of awkward, but then I was like, well, I'm gonna sit in this motherfucker until this guy gets out. I'm not getting out of this sauna first. So
little sauna mental edge going on.
Mental edge. Then we went in the ice bath. Then he wouldn't even put his feet in the ice bath. I was like, oh, this kid's a pussy. I knew it. I was like, I'll sit in that ice bath. So it was little things like that. So then I was watching him hitting pads. I didn't want to watch him because I feel like that was inappropriate. I could hear him hitting pads on the other side of the room while I was hitting pads. It was little things where I just I feel like I sensed that he was nervous and I was going to beat him. And I went in there and I did exactly that. I knew he uses his size as his advantage. I think if you rely too much on something like that, you know what I mean? There's a weakness there. So I just was like, all right, this kid, I'm going to take this kid down over and over again and break him. And that's exactly what I did.
Exactly, man. You had a flawless performance that night. Very impressive. You ultimately end up getting the contract. How did it feel to finally have pen on paper, getting that UFC contract to your name? And then also Dana White said something else great about you that night. He called you undeniable. Is that a word that you've kind of now carried with you since then? Because it's a pretty cool, moniker or word to carry around with you to describe a fight career.
Yeah, it's the name of my book that's coming out.
Hey,
no, it is
coming to a Barnes and Noble near you.
Yeah. I'm not finished writing it yet, but once I finish writing it, I can't write, so somebody's got to ghostwrite that thing.
Get a ghostwriter.
No, that's exactly, you know what I mean? Undeniable, because, I fought in front of him 3 times, and I really, kept on showing my face, and I proved to him that I deserved to be there. You could put me against, that kid was supposed to be a 10-0 stud, and I still came out and I got the victory. And yeah, I think that was my moment, is everything. I mean, that was a huge part of my life. That it's a dream that came true. It really
Mm.
was. You know what I mean? There was so many points in my fighting career where I thought that, this is it, this is probably not gonna, and then, for it to work out the way it did, it's an absolute dream come true. And, and I'm happy that I got that contract, but now it's a whole new set of stresses, because now you're in the UFC, right? Now
Right.
I still, it's back to work once you get there. But I'm super, super grateful and thankful for the way everything played out. And I'm just lucky to have the people around me to help me to get me there. Honestly, is what it comes down to.
For sure, man. Let's talk about some of those people. Get into your training camp a little bit. I know you are over there at New England Cartel, head coach, Tyson Chartier, and obviously Rob Font, Calvin Cater, and a bunch of other great fighters inside that facility. How important has that camp been to you throughout your career? And what have you kind of learned from some of those guys like Rob and Calvin that have been to the spot that you're trying to get to?
So big thing for with is Tyson Chartier runs a phenomenal training room and practice. I think that's the biggest thing. He keeps everything very, very like it. We work the basics a lot, honestly.
Hmm.
But we drill things until it's boring and monotonous, and we just get that shit down really, really good. We work on, stuff are necessary. I think a lot of people, if you're like kind of your own coach or your own manager, that you kind of like to work on things that you're good at. And
Hmm.
we're always working on things that, we're not good at, things that suck. You know what I mean?
Right.
Starting from bad positions, getting off your back, things that are hard. He's really pushing us there. We have an hour and a half practices Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we spar on Saturday. And our sparring has been awesome, man. I think we have a room full of killers, but we're always there, not trying to knock each other out and hurt each other. I think a lot of these big super gyms, what I mean, you go there on like a Saturday, you go spar, and they let anybody in, and guys are
Hmm.
out there like knocking each other out. We're not doing that. We're trying to spar to a competitive pace, but in a safe manner. So that's kind of keeps the longevity of our team. You know what I mean? So we're spending the time fighting in the ring, not in the gym. You know what I mean? I think that's
For
very
sure.
important. I think that's something, we got from like Rob and Calvin. You know what I mean? We don't need to have the gym wars anymore. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
proved themselves so many times on TV, right? We don't need to do
Right.
that. So we have that. It's just like, they have a path in front of us. They've been there, they've done that. They fought at the top 5, top 3, whatever it was. Rob and Calvin got to. So they have a blueprint for us that we just need to follow. All we got to really do is show up and work hard, and they have so much wisdom and advice along the way to help us out. I'm really excited to see from you could see it in my fight. I mean, look at my Francis Marshall fight, the way I performed, and look at my Jaias Ferreras. That's only a year's worth of training. I've been there for and I've gotten even better since then. They just keep
Right.
on building upon every fight camp. So I'm excited to show everybody how much better I am again for this one. But there's still a lot more to be done for sure.
Of course, man. Let's talk about the facility that you're kind of sitting in right now, man. Mom's Basement MMA, something that's kind of been a staple for you in your day to day since the pandemic, really.
Yep.
How important has that spot been for you, man? And what does it mean to you having your own spot that you can kind of call home?
I love it, man. It's awesome. Like I just had Valdina down here and Joe Poirier and Pete, and we were
Hmm.
just drilling and working together. It's just, yeah, it's a space that we can go to. There's nobody on the outside that can really come and annoy us or deal with us, and we can just really focus on the things we want to focus on. And Pete Luciani's down here helping us with our striking, and then I got guys like Joe and Valdina that I can use to help me out, to
Hmm.
practice on and work or whatever we need to work on. And then like the younger guys we have coming up is just an opportunity for me to take knowledge that I'm learning from the cartel and pass it on to them. So every single time I pass that knowledge on to somebody else, it's another opportunity for me to learn it again. So it's just like, it's super beneficial. And the biggest part of it is I don't have to worry about making rent. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
in my parents' basement. So it's a really good spot. We got a cage. We got our TV over there. We watch the fights. We got a little workout area, aerodyne bike. I mean, it's the best. I love it, man. I I wouldn't want anything else. Honestly, I don't even want to open up another. Someday I'm going to open up a gym down the line when I need to,
Right.
but like right now, this is perfect for us.
Yeah, man, it is. I've had the pleasure of being there once before, for a little bit, man. Just being in there and seeing everything. It's I've seen, obviously, been following all you guys on social media, and I see all the content that you guys make out of there, and all the clips. But actually being there in person and realizing like how big of a space that it actually is, and how much room that you guys actually do have to work. It is crazy to think of that being in the basement of your parents' house at the same time. So the fact that you have all that at your disposal, and I'm sure everybody that comes in to train with you guys appreciates it as well. So it's definitely a cool ass spot to have for sure.
For sure. And then Sundays are awesome because that's open mat. So like I'll get all my jiu-jitsu friends down here, and it's just like a good, just a good time. You know what I mean? We hang out, like mess around with each other, just enjoy just jiu-jitsu. Sometimes with training, it kind of gets real serious, especially in fight camps and stuff like that. It's like a grind. It's more work. And then, it's nice to come down here and just have fun every once in a while.
Definitely, man. Let's get into who's going to be coming with you to Atlantic City. Who are we going to see in your corner? You mentioned all the guys that you train with over at Cartel. Who are we going to see in your corner that night on March 30th?
So I'm going to have Tyson Chartier. Obviously, he's my head coach, so he's going to be there. Jake Manini, I've always had him for every single one. I think every single one of my, maybe one pro fight I haven't had him, but Jake Manini, Muay Thai coach for Hard Knocks. And then I'm going to have Pete Luciani as my third coach. So, yeah, Pete was basically cornering me, believe it or not, for my last Contender Series fight. He was in the stands, and I could hear him just as clear as everybody else because it's such a small building. But yeah,
he's got a very recognizable voice as well.
Yeah, he was essentially cornering me. But yeah, this is my first time having all three of them. Actually, no, I had them for the dinner was like for a fight as well. So yeah, I mean, that's my corner. They've been great. I've been undefeated with all three of those guys so far. So we're gonna keep it like that. And other than that, we got an Airbnb down there for fight week, and I'm bringing my mom. She's like my chef on fight week. She is actually a chef, so she just hooks it up and just like gets my meals like down, so I don't have to worry about what I got to eat. She gets it from a nutritionist. Everything's like rolled out perfect. I'm bringing my girlfriend down there, War Baby. She's obviously a fighter, so she knows everything. Helps me out with the weight cut, helps me out the little things. Bringing Valdina and Joe. We're going to be down there for fight week at the Airbnb, hanging out. With my guy, Jude. I don't know if you know, he's a up and coming kid. He's like 8, he just turned 18 fighter. I'm bringing him for the experience. And my photographer, Nico. And we got a house of like 10 people. Pete Luciani, Jake. We have a house of like 10 people. We're all staying in there. And it's just going to be a little fight-cation. You know what I mean? Down in Atlantic City.
Yeah, man, it sounds like a blast. And of course, it is so close to home. It's only a little bit of a drive. Anybody else that's going to be making the drive down there that you know of that's going to be there to be in attendance to watch you fight live?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of people going down. I know a lot of people from Mom's Basement from my gym are going to be coming down there, making the trip. So that'd be cool. I know a lot of people, like a lot of my military friends are coming in. The guys from Black Rifle Coffee, I made friends with. They're going down there. So I got a lot of people come from all over the place. It's that New York versus Boston rivalry fight going on. This kid fights out of Sierra Longo. So, it's pretty cool.
It is, man. Let's get into that one a little bit. UFC Atlantic City, you're going in versus Dennis Buzukja, who is 11-4, 0-2 inside the UFC. What do you know about this kid, and then how do you feel about his game?
I think he's also one of these fighters that's kind of good at everything. He's he can strike, he can kick. He's got some good wrestling, and he comes from a good gym. He cornered Aljamain Sterling, so you know what I mean. He's definitely has some good knowledge there. If he's cornering Aljamain Sterling, there's no doubt about it. So definitely he's somebody you don't take lightly. There's a reason why he's been in the UFC, and the 2 fights he had in the UFC are against good guys. They lost, but they're like not nobodies, or they're not up and comers. There's Sean Woodson and Emmers. So it's like there's you know what I mean. He's fought high level talent. You know what I mean. And then, like I said, no matter what, if you win or lose, you're still taking something from those fights. And this is his. He's got to survive. If he doesn't win this fight, there's a good chance of getting cut from the UFC. So I'm sure he's training like that, and I got to take that seriously, and I do take that seriously. So I'm ready to fight a legit high level UFC fighter. I just think that I've grown so much as well, and I'm ready for this level, and I'm really coming into my prime right now. I'm 31 years old. I'm not just a young kid who's getting the contract. I think it's been a slow build throughout my whole life to be where I'm at right now, and I'm just coming into the perfect time. And I'm gonna come back, and I really want to. My goal is to win this fight one fight at a time, but I want to secure this contract and make a career out of this fight thing, not just a one fighting off. I want a career. So, that's my intention, is to come in there and finish this guy and make a name for myself in the UFC.
There you go. And when you look at this matchup stylistically, when you break down every facet of his MMA game versus yours, where do you feel like you have the biggest stylistic matchup?
I would say stylistically, my striking is going to be way more dominant than his. But that being said, I mean, he's going to wrestle. He can try to grapple. I can grapple as well. I mean, I feel very confident in my grappling within the last couple of years. I got like Nick Fiore, and I got these training partners that I've been working with that have been really stepping my game up. Ruben, he's a South Boston BJJ black belt. He's a Danaher black belt. I've been working with him a lot. It's just my grappling has grown so much in the last probably 6 months, honestly. So I'm really confident in it. I'm not scared to bring this fight anywhere. If this guy wants this fight to go, I'm gonna beat him there.
There you go, man. And then what does a successful UFC debut look like for you, aside from getting the win? What do you need to do through fight week, through the fight, and then before you get home to make this outing in AC feel like a successful UFC debut for you?
For me, it's I really want the finish, to be honest. I want to put a statement on a dominant performance or finish. You know what I mean? I love to either way, knockout, rear naked choke. I feel a rear naked choke coming. I feel like that's always that's my thing. But I really want to get a dominant performance and get out of there and try to get not hurt, because I want to fight again. You know what I mean? If I can get in there and get out of there fast, that'd be awesome. And put my name on the list for anything that pops up early in the summer. You try to get a couple fights this year.
There you go, man. And then what can the fans in Atlantic City and the many that are going to be watching at home expect from the controller on March 30th, man?
You can expect me to drop some bombs like a combat controller does. That's what I'm gonna do. So throwing some hands out there. You'll see some maybe some overhands, maybe a flying knee. You never know. I can do it all. I can kick, I can punch, I can do some karate stuff. So you never know what you're gonna get out of me. But when I see the opening, I'm gonna take his hat off.
There you go, man. And also on March 30th, a little bit of conflicting schedules. Many of us will be over at the Cage Titans fight. Any way you can get in Paul Veer's ear to maybe put time is intermission for your fight to put on the big screen, because we know there is always an intermission in a Cage Titans card. I feel like we just need it specifically and strategically timed out to get your fight right up there on the big TV.
That would be awesome. I like that. You should run that one up at him. That would be amazing. It'd probably be around the same time. I'm fighting the 5th fight of the night on for Atlantic City. So yeah, no, it's unfortunate. Because we wanted to have Valdina fight on March 30th as well, but Pete Lozani's gonna be down there and all that. So it is what it is. But I got a whole bunch of friends fighting on the night. It's gonna be a big night of fights, and I'm sure you guys. Good thing with mine, you'd be able to watch it easily.
Yeah, exactly.
The phone's out.
100%, dude. It's already in the schedule. All right, Connor, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for taking the time. Best of luck on March 30th. Before I get you out of here, anything that you want to say? Where can the people come find you? Any sponsors you need to shout out?
Yeah. So do you guys, if you always want to find me, obviously my Instagram, The Controller MMA. I got a website, controllermma.com. I got some merch on there. I got some shirts, sweaters, hats, flags. I got it all. So, yeah, go grab your swag up there. And that's basically about it. I don't really got any too many shout outs. Oh, Operation Vet Now. Thank them. They've been a huge supporter all the way through my career. They're just helping out veterans that are struggling with PTSD. If you have anybody struggling with PTSD, contact them, and they'll help you out and send you in the right direction.
Awesome, man. Connor, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for taking the time once again. We'll all be tuned in, for the debut, and best of luck, man. Go out there and get that W.
My pleasure, Brett. Thank you so much.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.